Good evening. Welcome to the third installment of our study of the hymn to Sri Ramakrishna, composed by Swami Vivekananda, called Breaker of This World's Chain, Khandana Bhava Bandhana. So let's start with our opening prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitam Astu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may we be protected together. May we be nourished together. May we acquire strength together. May our learning shine forth in our lives. May we not find fault with one another. Om, peace, peace, peace. So, we are discussing this beautiful hymn. For those who have maybe joining the series late, Swami Vivekananda composed an evening hymn to Sri Ramakrishna in 1898 at Belur Mutt, or right next to Belur Mutt. The brothers were still at Neelamba Babu's garden house, and that song is now sung every evening at sundown or thereabouts all over the world at the different centers of our order, different monasteries and temples, and also by devotees of Sri Ramakrishna all over the world. There are a few notable exceptions. One is the Advaita Ashrama in Mayavati and its branch in Calcutta, where no rituals are performed at all, because the center is dedicated to non-dual practice alone. So if we're really going to hold fast to the ideal of non-duality, then who is going to worship whom? So there's no worship of any kind at Advaita Ashrama. But that's the one exception. Everywhere else, Swami Vivekananda said yes. In fact, in his rules of the order, he points out something interesting. He says that Sri Ramakrishna never instructed us to worship him. We are doing that on our own. We are worshiping him. We are choosing to do that. He never told us to do that. He only told a few intimate disciples to meditate on his form, but never to actually to worship him. So that is an interesting point. But now he has composed this hymn. Now I'd like to how do we understand who Sri Ramakrishna is? This is a real question, and he is someone who is difficult to understand. And Swami Vivekananda himself rarely spoke of his master in public. And when he was asked, I'd just like to share a couple of quotes. When he was asked to write a biography of him, he said, don't ask me to do that. Girish Ghosh asked me to write a biography. He said, ask me to dry up the ocean, I shall do that. Ask me to pulverize the mountains, I shall do that. But please do not ask me to write the life of Sri Ramakrishna. So how do we understand him? Well, how did Vivekananda understand him? We get a glimpse through this hymn, which, by the way, we don't sing here in Hollywood. We read only an English translation, a beautiful, poetic English translation. But my thought behind this class is to go through each word and understand, get a little bit deeper glimpse into at least how did Vivekananda look on Sri Ramakrishna. He said also, I'd like to mention this, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa came for the good of the world. Call him a man, or God, or an incarnation, just as you please. Accept him each in your own light. So Swami Vivekananda would never insist that anyone look on Sri Ramakrishna in any particular way or accept him as an avatar, an incarnation of God. He would never do that. In a letter to Kitty written in 1894, he writes also, God, though everywhere, can be known to us in and through human character. No character was ever so perfect as Ramakrishna's, and that should be the center round which we ought to rally. At the same time, allowing everybody to regard him in his own light, either as God, Savior, teacher, model, or great man, just as he pleases. So he would not insist, as people in some religions do, that you have to understand our God in our way. You have to understand God as we say. He left it open. You see Ramakrishna in your own light. But we also see that in this hymn, Swami Vivekananda clearly describes Sri Ramakrishna as a manifestation of the infinite reality, of the divine reality. Sometimes we use the term avatar. He uses in this hymn, he uses the term Yuga Ishwara, Jagat Ishwara, the Lord of this age, the Lord of the world. So he clearly is describing not Sri Ramakrishna's physical being, which existed on earth for 50 years, from 1836 to 1886. He's describing the transcendental Ramakrishna, that being who is able to break the chains of this world. He begins the hymn with these words, Khandana Bhava Bandhana. Bhava is this world. Bandhana is the bondage of this world, the bondage that we experience living here. What is that bondage? Ultimately, Vivekananda says the ultimate bondage is ignorance. And Sri Ramakrishna is that divine power who breaks that bondage by bringing us spiritual illumination. And it's a hymn which comes back again and again to this theme. He is the one who frees us from our sins, one who breaks the bondage of this world, the one who destroys our misery forever. And this idea of grace, that it's entirely without cause. The avatar comes, the divine comes to the seekers of the divine and takes them across the ocean of the world, as it were. So these themes come back again and again in this hymn. And to me, ultimately, it's a hymn of adoration. It's a love song. It's a tremendous love song for God that Swami Vivekananda has written, a tremendous love song to his own beloved, most dear friend, master, guru, guide, and everything. His Tameva Mata, Chapita Tameva, mother, father, friend, companion, wealth, everything is him. So the first line, as you know, Khandana Bhava Bandhana, the breaker of the bondage of this world, Jagavandana, adored by all, loved by all, Vandi Tomai. This line, Vandi, I worship you, I love you, I adore you. Vandi Tomai. So it's a hymn of adoration describing primarily his transcendental aspect as avatar. So I'm a little uncomfortable discussing this because I always feel like we need to follow Swami Vivekananda's insistence that we don't preach Sri Ramakrishna as God. We say again and again, as Sri Ramakrishna said, as many faiths, so many paths. All religions lead to God. we don't need to preach Sri Ramakrishna. He will preach himself. Study his life. Those who feel drawn to him will accept him each in their own light. So I never want to say that, you really should accept Sri Ramakrishna as avatar. But here we are discussing specifically Swami Vivekananda's view of Sri Ramakrishna. And there we have to say, without a doubt, Vivekananda understands Sri Ramakrishna to be an avatar. And he did not preach this through his teachings on the world stage. He did not teach it in his writings, but he taught it in some of his letters, and he taught it in these hymns, which describe Sri Ramakrishna. So, that grace, for instance, is clearly shown in this the second part of the second verse, where it says, "Jnananjana bimala nayana vikshane moha jai." This idea that our moha, our delusion, jai, it goes when in vikshane, in a glance of your eyes, by the glance of your eyes. If you merely look at us, our delusion goes. Why? Because your eyes are jnananjana bimala nayana. Utterly pure eyes, nayana eyes, bimala pure, which are touched with the collyrium of wisdom. They're shining with the power to awaken us from the sleep of ignorance. So by just your gracious glance, we awaken from the sleep of ignorance into the light of knowing the divine directly. So we have gone through the first 4 verses of this hymn in our previous classes. So we'll now start diving a little deeper into the 5th verse. If any of you have it, it's good to read along if you have the text with you. I suppose next time I'll print out, though we'll make good progress today, I'm sure, but we should print out so we can follow along. You want to get those who, you can bring out the books, those who like to follow along. It's definitely worthwhile to follow along then, because my idea is that we can meditate on these verses actually. Once we know them, we can just recite them in our minds. And we hope to introduce them, the singing of the hymn here, at least once a week or so, and we're working on that. It's taking a little longer than we had hoped, but I think before the end of the year we'll be singing this at least, say, on Sunday nights. And all right, verse number 5 starts with Bhanjana Dukkha Ganjana Karuna Ghana Karma Kathor. One reason why I would love to read the Bengali also is because of the poetry, the rhyming. Bhanjana Dukkha Ganjana. You can hear even if you don't know the language, you can hear the rhyming of it, right? And then the next verse echoes this verse. The next verse says, Banchana Kama Kanchana. So Bhanjana Dukkha Ganjana, Banchana Kama Kanchana. You can see how these patterns of sounds repeat themselves in this hymn. Bhanjana Dukkha Ganjana. Dukkha is misery, it's suffering. This is the what characterizes our lives. What characterizes our existence, our earthly existence, is dukkha. Buddha had it right, in a sense. Dukkha, that this is the first of the 4 Noble Truths, that our lives are characterized by, if not tremendous suffering, at least a nagging dissatisfaction. There's always a fly in the ointment. That's my understanding of dukkha, that, all right, we look at the world, we see there are millions of people who are actually in tremendous physical suffering, either caused by hunger or by poverty or by war or by being tortured by family members or by criminals or by corrupt governments. There's a lot and a lot and a lot of suffering in this world. Now, some countries, like this one, seem to have removed a lot of that suffering for those who have enough money. Seem to have removed a lot of that suffering. And yet, we see this dissatisfaction among the wealthy too. They are not suffering the pinch of want from material needs. They're not suffering the pinch of want from intellectual stimulation. But still, there's something missing. And they suffer. We all suffer. We each are suffering in our own way. What is that suffering? Ultimately, Vedanta says, or really all the spiritual traditions say, it's a very, the cause is very subtle and very deep, and it's not so easy to just uproot it. And it can't ultimately be solved simply through worldly means. Though we try, we want to feed the hungry. Yes, those who don't have enough food, we ought to be able to provide enough food for every person in this country, considering how wealthy it is. But the ultimate root, the very root of suffering, is this ignorance. Or Buddha would say it's this thirst for more, this thirst for enjoyment, which springs from ignorance. Springs from ignorance of our true nature, which is already perfect and full and complete, and of the very nature of joy. But we don't know it, so we suffer. And we're looking for that joy. We're looking to taste that fulfillment in everything we do. Bhanjana dukkha ganjana. Ganjana, my Bengali is not that good. So I asked, because dictionary meaning of Ganjana is different, but I asked Swami Sarvadevji, he said the dukkha Ganjana means it's that suffering which is so difficult to bear with. That mass of suffering is so intolerable, actually. And Bhandana, you are the breaker of that, the dispeller of that suffering. And again, how is it? Because Sri Ramakrishna awakens us to our true nature. The divine calls us, awakens us, and we taste our true nature. Then suffering, that is when suffering truly goes. Not that pain disappears. Pain is part of, as Sri Ramakrishna would say, it's the tax of the body. Look how much Sri Ramakrishna suffered. Look how much Swami Vivekananda suffered doing his work. He suffered, in a sense. He suffered pain, anxiety, heartbreak over betrayals, and yet at the same time, he was always aware of his own true nature as infinite bliss. There was always that well of peace and bliss deep within, and his mission was to bring other people to the light, to put in a lever for the good of humanity. Bhanjana dukkha ganjana karunaghana. So why are you the dukkha ganjana? Why are you the destroyer of misery? Because you are karunaghana. We had this, karuna is compassion, and ghana, we had this term ghana at the beginning. Do you remember? Where we say, chid, Swamiji says, chid ghana kai. Your body is solidified chit, solidified, it's consciousness solidified. It's condensed. Ghana means it's condensed, solidified, thick, like that. So chid ghana kai, kai means body. So chid ghana is that your body is actually just pure consciousness made solidified, made solid. So here, karuna ghana, you are the solidified, gathered together karuna, compassion. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that true compassion means love for all beings without distinction. One of our Swamis has pointed out quite nicely that actually true compassion is probably possible only for an illumined soul, a God-realized soul, perhaps even only for someone like Sri Ramakrishna. That true compassion which loves all beings, an intense feeling for all beings without distinction, and not more for some and less for others. And for us normal human beings, we may feel we have compassion. We certainly have love for others, and we feel for them when they suffer, and we feel for the suffering of other people. But it's not equal. If one of my brother monks in the monastery is suffering, I feel worse than if I hear about someone suffering in Alaska whom I don't know. I feel different. If Narayana falls sick tomorrow, and if Narayana, or falls down and breaks his arm, I feel worse for him than hearing about some guy in Alaska falling and breaking his arm. That's because I cancel that. That's not happening. Don't worry. But so Sri Ramakrishna would say, Maya is attachment for family, special and close relatives, things like that. That's the Maya. And Daya. Daya is compassion, that love for all. So is it possible to be someone like Sri Ramakrishna was an infinite well of compassion. He felt for everyone. Whoever came to him received his blessings accordingly as they were ready to receive those blessings. So that is how he's the. Why is he the Bhanjana Dukha Ganjana? Because he's the Karunagana. And he's Karma Kathor. Here Swamiji adds this idea of, look at how hard Sri Ramakrishna worked. Karma, work. Kathor means tremendous activity. Sometimes I'll just look at this little book. Karma Kathor, doer of arduous deeds, Swami Harshananda translates it. And Swami Harshananda points out quite nicely, see, in the past avatars, they had to kill so many demons. They actually had to do stuff. And Sri Ramakrishna, what did he do? He just meditated and talked to people. Where's the hard work in that? Well, first of all, his tremendous spiritual disciplines. Actually, though a lot of it may have been seated without externally doing anything, how sleep left him for 12 years. He performed all kinds of intense spiritual disciplines. Yes, most of them within, but tremendous work which generated tremendous power. The power of Sri Ramakrishna, we can see how it manifested in his spiritual disciplines, and that it in itself generated the power which he transmitted to his disciples, and which is flowing through the disciples, the Guru Parampara. So Karma Kathor, tremendous work. And then Swami Vivekananda pointed out how he would, when the devotees would come, he would talk and talk and talk. No rest. He wouldn't get rest often. He did talk 20 hours in the 24 until finally his body broke down under the strain, as Vivekananda puts it. So that is this Karma Kathor. Next, Pranarpana. This is a beautiful idea. Arpana is offering. The Arpan, we chant every day before our meals, Brahmarapanam. Brahman is the offering, right? In our Gita verse 424, every day we chant Brahmarpanam, Brahman is the offering, Brahman is that which is offered, Brahman is everything. Brahman is the offering. Here, Pranarpana, your life is an offering. Your life is a sacrifice. And Jagata Tarana, which saved the world. By sacrificing your life, as it were, by offering your life, this Jagat, this world is Tarana, is saved. The Tarana, that which rescues or takes us across. The rescuer, the deliverer, the savior of this world. You are the Jagata Tarana. You are the savior of the one who rescues the whole world by this Pranarpana, this sacrifice of your life, this offering of your life. And of course, this is again echoed in the 8th verse, where Swamiji calls him Premarpana, the offering of love, the sacrifice of love. So that's Pranarpana. And yes, we see how really he sacrificed his life and he underwent tremendous suffering at the end. That line is always so touching in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna when he says, if you would permit me, I could give up my body and end this suffering. But I'm only sticking on so that you all don't go around weeping for me. So out of compassion, out of feeling for his disciples, he hung on till the body absolutely could not hang on anymore. He hung on. We can say also yes to complete the training of the disciples, to complete the binding of them, as it were, together into a unit through his intense love. But at the same time, to save them from the suffering, he also hung on. So that's the pranarpana. Let's see if Harshananji says anything else interesting about that. Well, he just says it's stupendous. His spiritual practices are stupendous. That's Kamakatur, pranarpana. There's a very famous text of the Rig Veda called the Purusha Sukta, which describes the creation of this world itself as the sacrifice of the Supreme Person, that the divine actually sacrifices himself, herself, itself to manifest this world. So that is also a beautiful idea. So on the one hand, the Supreme Person sacrificed himself in the creation of this world, and the maintenance or the smooth working of the world too needs sacrifice. And we see who are the great people in history? We say the people who sacrifice themselves for others. And there's this, I just grabbed this letter from Vivekananda on this, his beautiful letter to Margaret Noble, the future Sister Nivedita, written in 1896. This is before she became Sister Nivedita. And let me read these few lines, which are always so moving. He writes, "My ideal indeed can be put into a few words, and that is to preach unto humankind their divinity, and how to make it manifest in every movement of life. Then, this world is in chain of superstition. I pity the oppressed, whether man or woman, and I pity more the oppressors. One idea that I see clear as daylight is that misery is caused by ignorance and nothing else." This is the cause of misery, according to Vivekananda and Vedanta. Misery is caused by ignorance and nothing else. And then this passionate plea: who will give the world light? Sacrifice in the past has been the law. It will be, alas, for ages to come. The earth's bravest and best will have to sacrifice themselves for the good of many, for the welfare of all. Buddhas by the 100 are necessary, with eternal love and pity. So that is Swami Vivekananda on sacrifice. Yes, the world needs sacrifice. We are all called to sacrifice. Life itself is constantly demanding us to sacrifice. Some do it willingly, others do it unwillingly. So Swami Swahananji even used to quote that, see, even on the level of the US government, it's there. If we give in charity, that reduces our taxes. But if we don't give anything in charity, Uncle Sam takes more. So even Uncle Sam is saying, hey, you should sacrifice. And you need to sacrifice for others. You need to sacrifice part of your income to support the whole country, to support the government. That's part of the deal here. So sacrifice is part of life. Look at the sacrifice that parents undergo for their children. Tremendous sacrifice. So sacrifice is the law of life. And here we see Sri Ramakrishna has laid down his life for others, for the world. And what is the result? Krintana Kali Dor. Dor is a bondage. It can be a thread or something you tie. We also call the loincloth that the monks wear, that string that you tie around your waist, is also called a dor. And Kali, what is Kali here? Kali is this yuga, this Kali Yuga. Now, this is something we need to remind ourselves, especially in the West, because there's this yuga is called the Kali Yuga, sometimes called the Iron Age, this age where everything seems to be really crooked. There's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of war, there's a lot of criminality, there's people are immersed in enjoyment and in darkness, a lot of tamas. And that's Kali, the short And then we also have Mother Kali. The two ideas are unrelated. But many people don't know. They read in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, oh, the Kali Yuga, but they read Kali Yuga, because Sri Ramakrishna is constantly talking about Ma Kali, and so here's Kali, it's named K-A-L-I, so it must be Kali Yuga, the Yuga of Mother Kali, who's so terrible. No, it's the Kali Yuga, the age of the Iron Age, the age of darkness, but it's Ma Kali. Kali. There's these the very important in Sanskrit and Bengali whether the vowels are short or long. And A. Kali. Kali. So that's just a reminder. This Kali Yuga.
Why is it Iron Age?
I'm not sure about that. We should research that. That's your assignment. Research that for next time. Why they call it iron? Because Kali doesn't mean iron. So they call it the Golden Age, the Silver Age, Copper Age, and Iron Age, or something like that. I don't know what it is. There's different theories about this. Some people say we're in the Kali Yuga, but when is the Satya Yuga going to start? When is the age of truth, of blessedness going to start again? Because they come in cycles, and we see how terrible it is. But if you look at history, there have been terrible people all along, and it's not necessarily that things are more terrible now. Genghis Khan. I mean, how many millions were slaughtered just outright? Probably in the 20s or 30s of millions of people. And now, yes, there's still people being slaughtered, but not on that scale. So maybe it was. So one idea is that they're actually running concurrently, and that we place ourselves in the yuga in which we want to be. But Swami Vivekananda did say that with the birth of Sri Ramakrishna has begun the Satya Yuga. So perhaps the closer we come to God, the closer we come to Sri Ramakrishna even, the more we find ourselves in the Satya Yuga. But anyhow, this idea, the Krintana, cutting the Kali door, this thread of bondage, this tie of Kali, of darkness. Yes, because through divine grace, we start to, we become good. We start to realize that really we need to be truthful. That telling a lie is not just something for convenience. Sometimes it's good, or when I want to get what I want, I can tell a lie. Actually, it harms us. It harms our spiritual life. When that realization starts to dawn, when we start to realize that even, Swami Vivekananda once was walking somewhere with some disciples, and they saw something on the ground. I don't remember what it was. And he immediately picked it up and said, "Is this one of yours?" It was some item of personal, maybe it was a pocketbook or a comb or something of a personal item. And when they all said, no, it's not mine, Swamiji, he immediately dropped it. He dropped it like that. Because the only reason for picking, if it's not his, he's not going to pick it up. He's not going to take it. One of Prophet Muhammad's teachings also. If a Muslim comes across, in those days, a bag of money or a bag of coin, of gold, he is not allowed to pick it up according to the rules of Islam, according to the Quran. He is not allowed, to pick it up is a sin, a punishable sin, because it's not his. It's not yours. If it's not yours, don't pick it up. So if you're walking in the street and you see a $20 bill, do you stoop down and pick it up or not? It's a question. It's not yours. Is it yours? Did the wind bring it to you? But somebody lost it. Maybe they're going to go look for it. Who knows? It's a question I leave with you. But that's Kali Yuga is, I take it, and I'll take everything else. Satya Yuga is, it's not mine. I didn't earn it rightfully, so it's not mine. Krintana Kalidor. So he brings to us that realization that, oh, if I really want to make progress in spiritual life, if I want to know God, then I'm going to give up the Kali, the Kali Yuga. I'm going to give up the wanton greed and only me and selfishness and big ego and all that. And I'm going to try to ripen my ego and start to speak the truth and try not to steal things and try to purify myself and be someone of the Satya Yuga. Krintana Kalidor. That's the 5th verse. 6th verse. Banchana Kama Kanchana. Ati Nindita Indriya Rag. Tyagishvara He Naravara. Deha Pade Anurag. All right. This is actually, in the whole hymn, this is the one prayer, you can say, in a traditional sense, a prayer, give me this, give me that. Swamiji says, Deha Pade Anurag, give me, Deha, sorry, Deha Pade Anurag, Pade at your feet, Anurag, love. Attachment, intense love, that feeling of anurag, of intense attachment and devotion for you, for your feet. That's the one request Swamiji makes of Sri Ramakrishna in this whole hymn. Give me love. Give me love for your lotus feet, for your feet. Deha Pade Anurag. But who are you here? He's Banchana, Kama, Kanchana. Kama, Kanchana, this is one of Sri Ramakrishna's main teachings, that this is really, in some ways, Maya, this world, our attachment to this world, our being enmeshed in this world, being caught in ignorance. It manifests as lust and greed. These are probably the two most powerful impulses in nearly every human heart. The urge to procreate. If there was no lust, there would be no humanity, actually, because without procreation, everything dies out. If nobody had any lust, there would be no procreation. The whole humanity would die out immediately. So it serves its function. But it's also how we see how much of the suffering in life comes from unrestrained greed and unrestrained lust. How many hearts have been broken by unrestrained lust? Think of that. How many hearts have been broken? How many families have been broken by unrestrained lust, unrestrained greed? Sometimes that greed manifests. It often manifests when it becomes really unrestrained in criminality. And in say gambling, and fortunes can be squandered that way. So Banchana is one, he has given that up completely. This was one of the features of Sri Ramakrishna. He has transcended Kama and Kanchana. Kanchana, strictly translated, means gold, and Kama is desire, or especially lust. Now, something about this Banchana, if you look at the dictionary, you'll find that it means to deceive, to defraud, to deprive of. And so I have asked a couple of Bengali speakers, and that it also can mean to give up, to renounce. But I think perhaps almost in the sense of, one of the meanings could be to hoodwink. As it were, Kama and Kanchana catch us all, but they can't catch Sri Ramakrishna. He has hoodwinked them. He has escaped them. He has given them up maybe in that sense. So we'll have to explore with some Bengali scholars more detail why. Now, of course, obviously it fits in the poetry of the hymn, because as I mentioned, the previous verse is Bhanjana, and here you have Banchana and Kama Kanchana. So it's a beautiful poetry. And Ati Nindita. Nindita is blamed. Ati Nindita, very much blamed, very much censured. Indriya Rag, attachment for the senses, attachment for sense experience. See what Swami Harshananda says, because this is always a little bit of a delicate point. Because on the one hand, no doubt, sense experience. If we are constantly yearning for sense experience, we're bound. If we're constantly wanting that. That ice cream cone, or that, there are people, I've heard that one of the brothers here, long back, who's not alive anymore, he couldn't have a box of C's chocolates. Why? He'd have to eat the whole thing. He couldn't stop. That's a bondage. It's not enjoyment, it's actually a bondage. It's not enjoyment anymore when you can't stop till the box is gone. It's a compulsion. You can't enjoy it. And yet, Swami Vivekananda, he loved ice cream. He did. He was a great renouncer himself. So how do you say? He used to, at Ridgely Manor, they would be sitting around the table, and Betty Leggett would have prepared the meal most of the nights probably, and they would have had the nice meal. And then after the meal is over, Swamiji would get up for a smoke. He would get up to go out for a smoke. In those days, smoking was not known to be so deleterious for health. So it was a normal part of most men's lives, at least, less women probably in those days, so he went out. He would go out to smoke, but everybody wanted to keep him at the table, so they loved to bask in his presence. So Betty would say, "I believe there is to be ice cream, Swamiji," and as it's described, he would sit right back down in his seat with a smile like a 16-year-old boy, the sweetest smile, and wait for that ice cream. So he could really enjoy ice cream, but he didn't have to eat the whole jar. I don't know how would they make it there at that time, or how would they get ice cream, because there was no electricity for refrigeration. They would make it. They would get ice from the ice house, and they'd have something to make it. And I guess they would probably. They had to, Leggetts were wealthy people, so there must have been one or two servants to make the ice cream and serve it. He who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. That old poem where, yes, if you are experiencing something pleasurable, enjoy it, but let it go. Kiss the joy as it flies. Because those kinds of enjoyments, they have a beginning and an end. So as we taste that enjoyment, we feel a little joy. That is the joy of our own true nature. So we can enjoy it all the more. When we can be here and now, enjoy the ice cream, and when it's over, let it go. We don't long for it again. So, Indriya Rag, the attachment, that longing, yes, Sri Ramakrishna had given that up. But then he also would enjoy it. He also could enjoy sweets. So, he is, Swamiji calls him Tyagishvara, the Lord of renouncers, the Lord of the monks, or the supreme renouncer, the one whose renunciation went to such a height. As we remember, he couldn't even touch a coin. It would be like his hand would feel like it was stinging. That level of renunciation we don't see. We rarely see someone with that kind of intense renunciation. Tyagishvara. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, "I'm the king of the devotees and the king of the sannyasins." So he's the Tyagishvara, the king of the renouncers also. He provides, he sets the bar very, very high for us monks, and we just hold him as our ideal. But for the devotees also, he's the king of the devotees and the king of the sannyasins. But he is also Tyagishvara. And Swamiji who was Swamiji writing this for? I think he was writing it for everybody. But in particular, he was also writing it for the monks who had, as I mentioned in the first class, before this hymn was written, they used to sing a hymn to Shiva, while waving the lights that is sung at the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Benares. And Swami Ramakrishna would with great fervor wave the chamar for a long time, and again the refrain of this hymn would come, and this Shiva hymn, Jaya Shiva Omkara, Bhaja Shiva Omkara, Hara 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 Mahadeva, that kind of thing. And this hymn, of course, sets a slightly different tone. Swami Vivekananda sent Shashi Maharaj, Swami Ramakrishna to South India, to Madras, to teach Vedanta there, and take up the work, establish a monastery and a temple there, which he did, and established in other places also. And so then Swamiji introduced this hymn, which set this mood of peaceful, serene, yet utterly profound worship of the Lord. Tyagishvara, He Naravara, O Lord, O Supreme Person, Naravara, best of men. Naravara you can translate as best of men. He Naravara, O best of men. Deha Pade Anurag, give us love for you. Grant us some devotion for you. Okay, I'm just going to that San Francisco translation for a moment because it has a certain poetry. Shunning lust and gold and sense joy ever condemned, thou art the greatest of those who have renounced the world. O man supreme, grant us devotion at thy feet. Okay. 7th verse. Nirbhaya Gata Sangshaya Dridha Nishchaya Manasavan Nishkarana Bhakata Sharana Taji Jati Kulaman. Okay. It's interesting. The first line, he's describing Sri Ramakrishna's state of his mind. So here, in some ways, perhaps he's hinting at Sri Ramakrishna as he knew him. Nirbhaya, completely fearless, without fear, without bhaya, without any fear. Nirbhaya. Gata Sangshaya. Sangshaya is doubt. Any doubt in the reality of the divine has gata, has gone, has completely gone. Gata Sangshaya, all doubt has gone. And then it says it again in a different way. It says, Dridha Nishchaya. Nishchaya is firm knowledge, sure knowledge, conviction, absolute conviction. And Dridha only makes it all the stronger because Dridha also means firm or strong or unshakable, Manasavan, your manasa, your mind. Manasavan means van, when you add the van at the end, full of this fearlessness, freedom from doubt, and unshakable conviction. And actually, this can describe Sri Ramakrishna, and this is also what he gives to us. He is the great, and that line comes in another hymn of Swamiji's to Sri Ramakrishna. He describes Sri Ramakrishna as Sangshaya Rakshasa Nasha Mahastram. Means Sangshaya, again we have that doubt. Sangshaya Rakshasa, the monster. The Rakshasa, the monster, the flesh-eating Rakshasa are the flesh-eating monsters that destroy humanity. They live on human flesh. And all the avatars, right, they destroyed the Rakshasa. They go in Krishna and Rama, they had to kill the Rakshasas. Ravana had to be killed by Rama, Ravana the Rakshasa. So who is the Rakshasa that Sri Ramakrishna killed? The Rakshasa of Sangshaya, the monster of doubt. In this age, that is the great Rakshasa eating the vitals of humanity. Doubt in the reality of spirit. Doubt in the reality that we are divine, that we are one with the divine. Sangshaya Rakshasa, Nasha Mahastram. Nasha, destroying the great weapon. Maha, great. Astram, weapon, sword or weapon. You are the great weapon. You yourself are the great weapon destroying the demon of doubt. true. When doubts come, and doubts will come, Sri Ramakrishna said, until we realize doubts don't fully leave us. Is this true, or maybe after all it's just imagination, and the mystics, they're just deluded and they're having some hallucinations. Maybe they ate some mushrooms and they're having hallucinations, and it's actually not true. That actually the scientists are true, right? The atheists are right. There's nothing. It's all just brain activity, and then when you die, it's all over, and that's it. Look at Sri Ramakrishna's life. Look at his life. Read his life. See how he was not only continually established in God consciousness, but established in infinite joy. Read how he could transmit that joy to others. Read how he could transmit realization to others. Read how he could know what's in someone's mind, how he could form someone's character just by looking at them, transmitting spirituality. Doubts, his great weapon, his life is the weapon to destroy our doubt. So for him, of course, there's no question of any doubt. He was fully established in his realization. And he grants that to us as well. And then this beautiful line, Nishkarana. Karana is the cause. Karana means cause, also means wine. So sometimes Sri Ramakrishna would hear the word Karana, and he would be reminded of Karana as the cause of the universe, and he would go into ecstasy. Karana, Nishkarana, without any cause, without any condition. You are the Bhakata Sharana. You are the refuge of the devotees. You provide in yourself a place of safety. That's what the divine is our true refuge, is there only. So Sri Ramakrishna would often say, as in his prayer to Divine Mother starts, Sharanagata, Sharanagata, Ami Tomar Sharanagata, Sharanagata. I throw myself on thy mercy, I take refuge at thy hallowed feet, because the divine is the refuge in this world. There is no other refuge. So here, Swami Vivekananda calls Sri Ramakrishna himself as the motiveless refuge for the devotees, providing in himself the true refuge for the devotees without any conditions, Nishkarana, and Taji Jati Kulaman, without looking to any, Jati Kula Man. Jati means birth or lineage, caste. Kula means family. Man means fame. We can call it fame or honor or respect, without any. So this is actually can be taken in several ways, because Taji Jati Kulaman. In the hymn, the prayer that we recite every evening, it says, "Thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision of God, refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away." Right? That's that's what we read every night. And so that's also a way. Taji means giving up, who have given up Jati Kulaman, fame, fortune, and friends away. So that's one idea, that those who have given everything up, you shelter them unconditionally. All right, that's all right, but probably that's not the, perhaps that's not the intended meaning, or certainly that's not the only possible interpretation. And the interpretation that seems to make more sense to me is this one, that you don't even look. Here, let's read the San Francisco translation. "Fearless art thou and free from all doubts, thy mind adamantine in its certainty, haven for no reason of all who adore thee." Okay, who adore thee? Let's say Bhakata Sharana, those who are devotees. You are the refuge for the devotees. Haven for no reason, Nishkarana, of all who adore thee. Thou carest not for their caste, their lineage, honor, or shame. So that seems to be a more appropriate interpretation, or a very suitable interpretation. Let's see what Harshanandaji says. Okay, Harshanandaji, and this is one of the nice things about this hymn is that you can interpret it in different ways. He says, when he says Nishkarana, he says this is referring to Sri Ramakrishna in his transcendental aspect. He's not referring to him as a refuge without any cause. He's saying, no, this is actually referring to him as the supreme being who is beyond all causes. He's the uncaused cause. This applies to Sri Ramakrishna in his cosmic aspect. And then Bhakata Sharana, you are the refuge of the devotees. And then he says it is also possible to club together the two terms, Nishkarana and Bhakata Sharana, and interpret them as one who offers refuge to the devotees unconditionally. That's the meaning that I had taken in this. And then Taji Jati Kulaman, you have cast off all pride of caste and family. So he takes it as applying to Sri Ramakrishna. So we can take it both ways. He gives the alternate interpretation also. While teaching an earnest aspirant, Sri Ramakrishna never took into condition his or her caste, pedigree, or status in society. From among his disciples can be found people from the highest castes, for instance, Swami Ramakrishna, to the depraved and fallen ones, like Girish Ghosh. So, good. Well, we have gone through now up through verse number 7. I think it's time to invite any questions or comments.
You didn't sing it though.
We could sing a couple of lines. We all have the books, but let's first see if there's any questions or comments. Any questions or comments? No.
Would you please sing it?
So you would consider the San Francisco version as the most direct translation, then?
I would say that each translation is an interpretation of the person who translated it, and there's no one perfect translation. There's an Italian saying, apparently, which in English also works, and it says, translators are traitors. Because you cannot translate something fully and completely and accurately. It's impossible because there are too many nuances. And every word in a particular language has so many nuances associated with it. And so while the direct and literal meaning of a particular word may be translated into another language, but in that other language, those other nuances that come with that word may not be there. So how do you translate is very difficult. To really understand, you have to learn the new language, and even that is extremely difficult if we don't learn it as children. So that's one reason why I'm taking an hour to discuss 3 verses, because you can't just explain the words. You have to start to feel all the nuances, all the associations with these ideas, and gradually we start to get a sense of the meaning of it.
Seems to be trying to get the pure meaning, will often change the meaning entirely, like you were saying, the 7th verse, regardless of caste, lineage, or honor.
Right.
That it could be related to Ramakrishna, or that this particular choice of interpretation could be related to Ramakrishna or the devotee.
Right.
So that
Right.
really almost changes its significance.
Right. And this is Swami Harshananda is a real scholar who wrote this book, and so he, in the typical scholarly fashion, he gives both interpretations, and so he says, yes, from the text itself, You'd have to talk with Swami Vivekananda to find out exactly what he meant. And maybe he meant that it could be interpreted in both these ways, because he himself was a genius. So he wrote it perhaps with this ambiguity, that it can be understood in both ways. On the one hand, yes, Sri Ramakrishna had gone far beyond the jati kulaman, beyond the caste and family and pride and all those longing for. He had gone far beyond all those things. And at the same time, those who give those up, he calls on us also to give them up. And those who have given that up and are devoted to him, he provides a refuge to us. And at the same time, his grace is for everybody. He gives the refuge. He would never look to anyone's caste or lineage or condition or anything. So all three actually are, three ways of understanding this are perfectly good ways of understanding it.
Who came up with the translation that we often say at our Aratu? Who came up with that translation?
Oh, the translation which we read is, I would like to call it not quite a translation, but a poetic interpretation. Because there's some beautiful lines and concepts in it that we don't find quite literally in the original, and that is the glory of Swami, the team, the dynamic duo of Prabhavananda Isherwood. Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood, who translated the Bhagavad Gita, and they also translated Breaker of this World's Chain, and they also translated the prayer we chant in the mornings, chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly. That's also their work. And brilliant, they worked so well together. So there's some of those beautiful phrases like, thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart. How do you come up with that? That's the translation of Jagabhushana, which literally means ornament of the world. But they have understood it in a very deep way and described it this way: thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart. How profound. So that's the gift, that's a real gift of the translator. But it's not a perfectly literal translation because it's impossible to do. So that's why I really wanted to go through it word by word. And if you want to take this, if you want this book, it's written, the words are also written in Roman script, so you can follow along in this book to get a scholarly interpretation. Okay, so you want to sing a little bit, huh? How far should we sing? The whole thing? That's too long. It's too long. Okay, we'll sing the first. We'll see how we get. We'll sing these first verses. We won't go all the way to the end because it's already 8:34. And I'll try to keep in tune. Last time I used the Tanpura and I started going flat. And someone pointed it out to me online. Can you hear this? Should I make this? So we can picture that we're sitting in Sri Ramakrishna's temple at Belur Mutt, and the hall is full of devotees, and the sun has set about 15 minutes ago, but it's still twilight outside, and everything is quieting down. And then we see the beautiful statue of Sri Ramakrishna in white marble, and the Pujari, the sannyasin with his shaved head and wearing his flowing robes, he lights the 5 lights, and it's a big holder that he bigger than we have here. He lights those 5 lights, and he stands up with the bell in the left hand, and he starts ringing it as he starts waving the lights, and he starts waving very slowly, first around the feet of Sri Ramakrishna, and then around his middle and his head and his whole body, and very slowly and methodically waving those lights as this hymn starts. Khandana Bhava Bandhana Jagabandhana Banditama niranjana nara rupadhara niranjana nara rupadhara nirguna mochana aghadushana jagabhushana chidghanaka jnananjana bimala nayana jnananjana bimala nayana vikshani mohajan. Now faster. Bhashvara bhavasagar chira unmala prema patha bhaktarjana jugala charana bhaktarjana jugala charana tarana bhavapa jridhita yoga ishara jagadishara yoga shaha nirodhana samahitamana nirodhana samahitamana nirakhitava kripa bhanjana dukkha ganjana karunadhana karma kathor pranarpana jagat tarana pranarpana jagat tarana krintana kolido banchana kama kanchana atilindita indriyara tagishara he naravara tagishara he naravara deha pade anurag nirbhaya gata sanshaya dridha nishchaya manasava nishkarana bhakata sharana nishkarana bhakata sharana taji jati kulama sampada taba sripada bhava goshpada varijatha premarpana samadarshana premarpana samadarshana Nashana Jaga Jana Dukha Jana. So, as you know, it continues a little bit further, but those are the 8 verses, the first 8 verses that follow that pattern. And in the temple, all the voices are raised singing this song together. It makes a tremendous atmosphere. And I know some people who don't know anything about the tradition who attended this worship service. Actually, it was my parents. They came to visit me while I was there at Beromat, and they stayed in the guest house and they attended the evening prayer, and they were profoundly moved. Though they didn't know any of the words, they'd never even heard this hymn before, but sitting in this hall with hundreds of people, monks and brahmacharans and devotees, the temple is packed, and hearing this hymn sung all together, they were profoundly moved. So it's a very moving hymn, and that ultimately is how we know Sri Ramakrishna, not through words, but through this kind of hymn draws us into a deeper relationship where ultimately we have to meet Sri Ramakrishna deep within our hearts, and that's when we come to know who he is. So thank you for giving me this chance to delve deeper into this hymn, and we'll continue next month with another installment, and probably we can complete our study of this hymn next time. I look forward to that. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanam Astu.